Welcome to the third Another Peak ClearBlade webinar session with myself, Chris Reed, and our special guest, Aaron Allsbrook, CTO of ClearBlade. Today's topic is asset tracking, a new departure for Another Peak, but one that our clients are increasingly asking about. So let me begin with an actual example. One of the consulting projects we're working on relates to the transportation of individuals by a boating company, both for pleasure and commute purposes. And there is the COVID health and safety element here in terms of the people counting and people actually queuing at the jetties to get on and off the boat. And given the various embarkation points, there's a need to analyze where the customers are transiting to and from. So for a corporate view level, this is about the efficiency of the service through an operational week. How can I see, am I using the right boat? Am I using the right schedule in order to deliver the margins that I require? The plan is for trackers on boats and to monitor both the location of the boat, the speed, and look at key elements like the engine. And then finally, we need to look at when the boats actually need maintenance and ask questions like, is the equipment required to do this maintenance in the right place? Again, this is all about operational efficiency. So can I ask Aaron to take control of the presentation, please, and give us a talk through on this from ClearBlade.
You bet. So I'll just talk about this from more at just a technology and what is the space doing right now perspective. Hopefully
Excellent.
You guys see my screen.
Yeah.
And we'll start with basic, right? I mean, you basically dropped us right into a real challenge, and that comes back and say, what's the answer? Asset tracking. And so asset tracking, we've been tracking things for a lot of years. We do it manually today, right? It's not like it's a new idea to be able to know where something is. But we have seen a real revolution in what the technology is capable of. So we ask ourselves, at least as businesses, we ask ourselves, although I ask it at home, who left the remote? I'd love to put a tracker on my TV remote, but we have to ask ourselves, where are they and where have they been? Who's taken this thing away? Where has my particular piece of equipment been moved to? So we have some basic questions that asset tracking done right will solve for us. So we lined them up very quickly. Where are they? Where have they been? Who's been using them and should they have had access to them? Am I using them too much? There's a lot of equipment that has limitations on how much someone can use them. Good example is a jackhammer. You only are allowed to use it as a person for so many hours a day because of damage that can happen to you. There's also equipment that gets overused and breaks at that level of usage. So asset tracking is important there. And then ultimately, are we maintaining them? Do we have the right inventory of things? Asset tracking is technology to answer very basic questions. Where is it? Maybe some sensors about it. And then where has it been over time? That's the technology, but it answers some great questions for us. When we do asset tracking and when we do it correctly, we begin to have this, what we call situational awareness. This situational awareness lets us know what's going on at a broad perspective. And again, what's cool here is we don't have to be in all places at once. In our last session, we talked about image recognition. The reason why we do image recognition is to pull out situational awareness things of what that sensor has found. We do the same thing with complete situational awareness with other sensors and specifically around location. Situational awareness to know how many particular bottle carts are at a location, at an airport location, to know how many particular forklifts are in the warehouse and where are they. We have this holistic understanding of what's happening with our things, the things that we care about. And so that's what we've put together is the ability to get this holistic understanding. And then we've done it in a way that gives us the configurability that you really have to have. Again, I led with asset tracking is not new. There are fleet tracking solutions that exist out there. The problem that is that we've seen all of these solutions have been so focused, they've forgotten about configurability. they've forgotten about the idea that we might want to put this tracker, use battery power, right? That completely changes the profile of what we need to do with that device or what that device is. We found that we might need to take this asset into a remote location. Suddenly we don't get to count on our latest 5G installation. We're back to 3G or 2G or satellite only, right? And so there's this real dichotomy of environmental things you have to deal with to configure for your solution. And then it's true on the other side. It's true that we have to be able to configure that experience for the end users. The best thing that I've learned in this is it is not my job to teach people to become programmers. It is my job to give an interface that uses what people are already great at. Airplane mechanics, rail crossing maintainers. These are the roles that you want to go ahead and be able to provide and configure an interface for to serve where the asset really needs to be tracked, the person who's going to get the value out of it. So that's what we've really been working around when we put together our solutions. These solutions allow you to attach different types of devices, different profiles of devices. You put them on different types of assets. You have the ability to configure that asset, whether it be a truck, a train, a machine, a piece of inventory in the warehouse. You can configure it for where you need it, and then you can integrate it. And that's the other part of that configuration is every customer or every opportunity has really different ways they want to use the information. I have some folks that really just want to know utilization. All they see is utilization. They don't even care if they can find it, but they can tell by how much it moves, how much they're using it. And that results into a equation of, do I have the right amount? And am I getting the right productivity out of that investment? So where you send that data off to, whether you leave it inside of ClearBlade in our solution or ship it off into Azure or Google or into IBM, that information, that integration has to be configured as well. So when we come and with another peak, when another peak's out there, what we're doing is we're giving you this configurable solution, configurable for our end users to get started very, very rapidly. Whether it's fleet tracking, whether it's field tank monitoring, or whether it's even tracking non-powered assets moving around, that's what we're bringing out of the box. And that can fall in a number of interesting use cases. I put 3 up here, right? I mean, just think about just containers on their own, right? I mean, we got basically a pallet. Knowing where the pallet is, we've done some interesting use cases together, Chris, of just tracking the pallet's valuable, putting the right sensor on it that can move around. These pallets are now very much reusable, recyclable pallets as well, but they're reusable, and we're just gonna pull back basic information, temperature, humidity. We can do things like light. We can pull back, obviously, battery power, but we get this one pallet and we can know where it's been, who's had access to it as it goes around the world. The same is true of the shipping container. Now, different information is important to us there. Different owners, different stakeholders. We talked in the first session about data silos. Think about a shipping container. There's people that own the package inside. There's the customer who wants the package delivered. There's the shipper. There's the guy who owns the actual boat or the transport. There's the truck it goes on. There's the port it moves through. My goodness, you talk about wanting to break down silos. There's your example, right? And we could certainly go into, you see some examples about some blockchain technologies as well, right? You've got to integrate all this because these problems show you why you need shared trust as you're trying to break silos as well. And I like the last one. It's a little, barrel, right? But these barrels often have valuable things in them. Hopefully they're not all just storage. Hopefully they're using things like valuable. How much of this do we have? What is the level inside of this barrel? So while we may need to know where it is, where it gets moved to, does it get disposed of properly, but it also we might be pulling out what is the tank level? Do we need to refill it? Do we need to empty it? All of that is information that asset tracking makes available to us. And because we put it together, we build it in the privacy, we add the visualization, we let you do it in a non-technical way, we let you do it in the business-oriented way, we then have the ability to let end users automatically open up work orders. automatically enrich assets that are defined in, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old enterprise asset management systems. So when we do this well, when this gets done well, it's pretty amazing, because a lot of times people don't even realize how their job has changed. They're still out there maintaining the same thing. It's just suddenly they have so much more information. Right? It's not 5 or 6 trips back and forth about diagnosing what the problem is. It's not 5 or 6 trips of looking for it as we go around. It's actually not even a let's just go buy another one because we're not sure where we left it. It's just there's suddenly all of this inefficiency is compressed out of these processes and these life cycles, these operational things, such that people now just see themselves as doing their job. It almost disappears. Certainly the visualization reminds them as they're using it that, oh, that's where it is, I go and get it. But they don't really change how they do their work, or they don't change how they're having to do a lot of these processes. And that's key. We talked about the digital silos, we talked about the digitalization initiatives, keeping the culture the same where you can, right? Often it's that adoption is challenging. So where we can bring that together and work with these systems that they're already using, very, very valuable. I'll show 2 quick examples. This is railcar tracking. This is a little more industrial than the pleasure boat tracking, but very, very applicable. You can imagine that we want to know where these things are. If you own a railroad car, or are leasing a railroad car, or have a railroad car on your tracks, you want to know where it is, right? And the more you know about it, the more interesting that data is. You know how full it is. The doors are opened or closed. What are the temperatures? How quickly does it move from point A to point B? And as you begin to know that, then you begin to answer other questions. Well, why did it take so long here? Or why do we integrate that data and find out, it goes 15% slower when weather conditions are foggy or wet? You didn't expect this. All we thought we were going to do was get a lap long. And suddenly a lot more opened up, and we can begin to predict our business. We can predict arrivals. We can know when packages are there. And then to all the way back to you and me, who's just waiting for our, that Christmas present we want to arrive. Now we see it not only it left the facility. We're down to, it's on Interstate 1 and it's 30 minutes away, provided the driver follows their normal routines, you should probably go ahead and get to the front door now. It's getting ready to walk up, right? It's almost like how we wait for Ubers and Lyfts are going to be arriving for all our packages, right, as it goes around the world. So that's a little bit, the other example we have is certainly maintenance. I think this is a really cool one because it comes down to not so much of a kind of reporting and predicting, but this is much more an operational day-to-day. When you are trying to maintain expensive equipment, aircraft is a great example. Boats, obviously lots of machines out there have to be maintained, strict cycles, liability obviously associated with this. You need the right tools in the right places in the right people's hands, right? Now they wouldn't let me out there, so we got to have the right person who's working with this stuff. So the ability to see where exactly something is, to be able to walk right out there and grab it and go start that job and tie it directly into that ticket or that work order I've got to work on. Very, very, very efficient for them. But then, if something goes missing, it's not like it's a mystery. We just pop open the dashboard and we say, hey, it got put on a truck by accident. It's 30 miles out west now. Let's give somebody a call and bring it back to us. That saves a lot of money in these unique use cases where, we have compliance and we really need this equipment and we need schedules to be fulfilled on time. We need the planes on time. Planes and trains are always on time, right? We've got to keep that thing going. So those are use cases where we can really take a solution that when we started with, 5 basic questions, really just a lat long answered a lot of it was the answer to that. But as we walked it through, as we brought that situational awareness through, and then as we made it an out-of-the-box solution where anybody could bring their own domain and understand it. Interestingly enough, yesterday we worked with a farmer who was using this stuff for the first time, and it worked right into their domain as well, right? You think about that. Being able to put something in front of all these different folks and different ways they use their business, customize it to fit them, that's what we're bringing together here. And that's why asset tracking is so exciting. That's why the fact that we have these 5G, NB-IoT, Cat1M1, all these new protocols, the low Earth orbit satellites that are going up, the highly efficient battery-powered sensors that can go on everything. This is why this space is changing so rapidly and offering so much opportunity for folks to really change how their businesses work and to digitalize their businesses.
I mean, I'd certainly, another side we've seen as well is the educational side as well, the training side. Because if you look at this particular example, you know, it's a case of not just where is my asset, who's using it, and there is we talked the other day about people accessing, filling up tankers, using some of this solution, and it's about, you know, where's the truck actually stopped. We know the process, so we can look at that and say, does that meet health and safety? So what we're starting to do is bring things together. Yeah,
well, and you know, there's a whole nother webinar here, Chris. We can do another one on really, you know, what are the business capabilities that are falling out of all this?
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Definitely, you know, worker enablement is one of those. You know, you think about it, if a worker turns a knob every day, but you got one person who turns it to 11 instead of 9, there's something to tell that person. 9's good enough, right? Or 9's the right number. And so real-time feedback, how we're doing our job is also interesting. So, you know, a lot to talk about there. Great point.
Okay, brilliant. Well, once again, Aaron, many thanks for your time. Many thanks for your explanation on ClearBlade. And yeah, I think we'll take you up on that future webinar, and we'll go into that particular topic in far more detail. So once again, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, Chris.